Hello, this is Connor Van Alstine for the Kinesiology 720 Psychology of Sport signature assignment, and this is my PowerPoint presentation with Screencast-O-Matic to record the audio. And the topic that I had chosen for the signature assignment is called Commitment in Training and Athletic Performance. And the reasoning for choosing this topic is because commitment has been the focal point of my program since I began coaching a little over 3 years ago at Santa Rosa Junior College. And it means so many different things to different people, but I really thought this was an intriguing topic that I could find a lot of research on. And so I'm happy to share all the literature that I've found and the journal articles and everything in regards to this topic. So let's get started. What does commitment mean? Commitment is defined as the state or quality of being dedicated to a cause, activity, etc. That is from Google Dictionary. So basically, it's got different meanings for different people. Commitment for one person can mean just showing up. It could mean I'm committed because I'm there. For another person, it might mean giving 110% effort every single time that they show up to practice or events or anything like that. So it's got a lot of different meanings. I know there's one definition, but it does mean different things for different people. So in training, athletes commit to their objectives and goals. Excellent in sport, school, coaching. This all begins with a dream or goal to which you must bring a high level of commitment or passion and an optimal level of intensity, and also a positive and fully connected focus, I should say. Whereas in athletic performance, athletes commit to their teams if they're playing a team sport or devoting oneself entirely to their individual performance if they're playing an individual sport. And so furthermore, having commitment requires a lot of focus, attention, mental determination, and the most essential keys to personal and performance excellence, according to Terry Orlick in Pursuit of Excellence, is commitment and focus. So, commitment is all mental. How committed would an athlete be to a team? How committed is an athlete to bettering himself or herself? How committed is the athlete to physical performance? Is the athlete meeting goals and objectives? These are all questions that you could ask about what are the different levels of commitment. Also, commitment in training and athletic performance can be very easily manipulated by pre-existing commitments. So focus and attention can easily alter an athlete's commitment in a second, right? So if a student athlete is concerned about an exam or something the next day, then that student's mind may not be 100% in the right place for their peak athletic performance. They're not going to be fully there. They're not going to be fully engaged. They're going to have different things on their mind, which can completely alter their commitment. For example, in Division I and Division II intercollegiate athletics, students are limited in the number of hours that they can participate in athletically sponsored activities, both in season and out. And the limitations were established to help ensure that student athletes are afforded quality time for their academic pursuits, similar to the rest of the student body. So basically, a student can still be fully committed. A student can still be committed to their sports program, especially a student athlete, even when school might be their top priority. It doesn't mean that just because you don't have 100% of your time and energy dedicated to a sport that you're not committed to that sport. So, unless possibly if you're a professional athlete, that is. All right, so now I want to move along to some of the literature that I found. And the most interesting topics that kind of the route that I took to discuss this topic, I found 4 different methods that can improve commitment. And these 4 are mindfulness, motivation, self-motivation to be specific, growth mindset and having a growth mindset and what that means, and setting goals. So we'll start with mindfulness. Now, mindfulness is defined as the acceptance and awareness of thoughts, emotions, physical senses, and external experiences at the present time without judging and trying to control and suppress them. Now, basically, mindfulness is being in the complete now, in the complete present, having this sense of total clarity. Um, Now, one can't really be committed if their head's not in the right place. So, with any component of athletics, practicing mindfulness does take time. One particular method in the mindfulness is that many athletes take this approach to clear their heads of all external thoughts and distraction before their training or their athletic performances. Now, a clear mind will translate into full focus and attention, which therefore translates into total ability to commit. So that's the correlation that I have between mindfulness and commitment is that if their head is completely there, if practicing mindfulness will get them in the now and get them in the immediate moment, then they'll have a better ability to 100% be able to commit. So mindfulness does take some experience. It does take practicing to master this kind of thing. Just like any other sport or practice, it doesn't really just happen. According to many articles, it doesn't happen to people on the first time. You really have to develop it. You have to learn how to completely clear your head and get your body right and your mind straight, and allow yourself to try to just completely be in the now, rid yourself of distractions, noises, all of that thing. So it takes time and patience, but it does allow for total amounts of clarity and presence in the moment. Now, the next topic that I wanted to discuss is self-motivation. So let me see here. So commitment in training or athletic performances can decrease when athletes have negative thoughts, right? Especially stemming from tough losses or tough competitive situations. Mentally tough athletes, though, are not without negative self-beliefs at all. Instead, that they just acknowledge that negative beliefs are going to be conductive to coping in pressured situations and in motivating persistent self-improvement. So instead of not trying to think about negative thoughts, everybody does have negative thoughts. Professional athletes, especially the ones that are at the top of their game and the peak performers of each sport, are the ones that are able to take these negative thoughts and use them to try to harness them and turn them into positive thoughts. And I think a lot of tendencies for athletes is to try to just completely not to think about negative thoughts, but when inevitably they do happen, elite athletes will use that and try to turn it into something positive, or try to learn from it and try to gain something from using a negative thought rather than running from it or being threatened or feared by it. In other words, self-motivation can aid an athlete's commitment in training or athletic performances to keep pushing forward. And having a positive attitude, ignoring negative thoughts, striving for improvement are all positive ways that self-motivation can contribute to commitment. Another topic, so the third one that we have is having a growth mindset. Now, a growth mindset is defined as a belief that construes intelligence as malleable and improvable. Empirical studies have revealed that growth mindset has positive effects on motivation and performance, and those growth mindsets will mobilize their learning resources without being defeated by the threat of failure. So again, kind of similar to those who can self-motivate and practice mindfulness. These are the athletes that are able to turn negative thoughts into positive thoughts and not feel threatened by bad things happening. So they turn these into positive situations rather than completely absorbing a negative situation and letting it spiral out of control. Athletes who do have growth mindsets continuously are looking to learn and seeking ways to improve. The threat of failure does loom over every athlete, as I've mentioned, but the ones that seek to improve are usually the ones who are the most committed. So they're basically growth mindset athletes are always looking to learn. They're always looking to develop and find something in every situation. So instead of walking off the field after a win, a quarterback isn't just gonna go home happy and feel a sense of accomplishment but not think about it. That would not be having a growth mindset. That's a fixed mindset. A growth mindset would be what can I do better? What went well when I got sacked that one time? How could I have avoided it? What can I do better to help my team? How could we win in a better fashion next time? So they're constantly thinking of ways to improve. That's a growth mindset, and that's how it's correlated with commitment. Because if you constantly are thinking of learning and constantly thinking of getting better and allowing yourself to improve in every situation, negative or positive, then you can translate that into full commitment for whether it's to a team, whether it's to a sport, whether it's to yourself. So even in training, you can convince yourself that out of every situation, how can I get better? What can I do better next time? And continuously wanting to grow. And lastly, number 4, this is probably one of the most important ones in my opinion. This is goal setting. So um, setting goals is important for every athlete, as most of us know. There are short-term goals and long-term goals. In this situation, since we're talking about training and athletic performance, we can discuss either short-term performance goals versus long-term performance goals. So it could be something like short-term. By the end of the week, I want to have run a total of 10 miles. Long-term goal would be I want to run at a pace of 15 miles per hour for 10 miles 5 days a week. And that could be a long-term goal, or a short-term personal goal would be something like I want to, by the end of the month, I want to be able to hit a forehand volley consistently cross court in tennis. Or a long-term personal goal would be I want to be able to make it to a Division I tennis program. If I'm hypothetically a senior out of high school or something, I want to make it to a Division I tennis program. How am I going to do this? Am I going to need to go to junior college? Am I going to need to spend 2 years developing myself? Am I good enough now? What can I do to get there? So having a growth mindset, motivating oneself, setting goals, and even practicing mindfulness can all contribute to advancing somebody and committing them to doing whatever it is that they want to do. Secondly, monitoring progress on goals is hugely important. A lot of people will set goals, and especially the long-term ones, that immediately sound good and sounds like something that's achievable but difficult. But if you're not monitoring progress through journals or logs or writing down notes or anything like that, they become a lot harder to keep track of and to accomplish. Goals are meant to be difficult and challenging, and so if you're not monitoring goals, it's going to be really hard for you to try to achieve that, because it seems like one big giant leap instead of seeing how well you keep doing to achieving that goal in particular. So lastly, a lot of top athletes will advance towards their goals daily. They'll keep working every single day, whether it's whether they do monitor on a daily basis or not. Most of them are at least doing something daily to try to get towards that goal. And most peak athletes will set short-term, long-term goals. They monitor their progress on it, and they do something daily, every single day, to try to advance towards that goal. So there were, there were 3 top concepts that make goal setting effective. 3 that I pointed out that I really enjoyed. The first one says that performance is enhanced when goals are moderately difficult, challenging, and realistic. Second one says goal setting provides athletes with direction and focus. And the third one says motivation will be higher if athletes are committed to their goals and accept them. This was taken from Weinberg in 2010. And I really like those because it's exactly what a goal should be all about. It should be difficult. It should be challenging, but it needs to be achievable. It needs to provide athlete with direction and focus. So if you have a goal, you know what you're working towards. You know that there are certain steps that you need to take in order to achieve that goal. And lastly, motivation is higher if athletes are committed. Means you're really working towards something, you're making progress. And again, especially when you're keeping journals and logs and you can physically see how much progress you're making towards a goal, that's what really makes a goal a goal work, I guess you could say. So,